Hi guys, it's me Teacher Gon. In today's video, we will talk about dividing radicals. So we are given here the law of radical in which when we have the nth root of p over the nth root of q, that is equivalent to the nth root of p over q, wherein q is not equal to 0. So we are given here two examples, and later on I will give you another example wherein we will be applying rationalization and conjugate on how to simplify or divide this kind of radicals. So let's start with item number 1. We are given divide the square root of 8 by the square root of 5. So actually, there are different ways on how to do it, pero applying this property or this law of radical, yun ang gagawin natin ngayon. So this one looks like the square root of 8 divided by the square root of 5. Pero, pwede natin siyang isulat bilang the square root of 8 over the square root of 5. And as you can see, in this kind of problem, we can use rationalization, wherein all we need to do is to eliminate this radical in your denominator by multiplying it by the square root of 5 over the square root of 5. Because when we multiply the square root of 5 by the square root of 5, it will give you a perfect square number as your radicand. So, multiplying these numbers, this will give you the square root of 8 times the square root of 5, that is the square root of 40. Wherein, for your denominator, the square root of 5 times the square root of 5, that is the square root of 25. And simplifying this number can be factored out as the square root of 4 times 10. We can simplify 40, right? And then over 5. So because the square root of 25 is simply 5. And simplifying your numerator, the square root of 4 is 2. The square root of 10 over 5. So before declaring this one as your final answer, you need to verify whether it's already simplified. So you have 2 times the square root of 10 times 5. This is the final answer for item number 1. Now let's move on with item number 2. In this case, I will give you 2 different ways on how to do it. 2 different solutions. So for the first solution, try natin ha. For the first solution, we have the cube root of 24 over the cube root of 3. So for my first solution, ang gagawin ko dito is that I will be using a property or a law of radical wherein this numerator, the cube root of 24, can be factored out as the cube root of 8 times the cube root of 3. Again, yung cube root of 24 natin can be factored out as the cube root of 8 times the cube root of 3. Kasi pag minultiply mo sila, 8 times 3, this will give you 24, right? So, over the cube root of 3 over 3. Now, ang alam natin, di ba, when it comes to fraction, kapag parehas ng numerator and denominator, we can eliminate them or we can cancel them out. So, we can cancel out the square root of 3, the cube root of 3 and the cube root of 3 in your denominator. And the remaining radical is simply the cube root of 8. And we know that the cube root of 8 is 2. This is the correct answer for item number 2. Now, let's check if gumamit tayo ng pangalawang method kung makuha pa rin ba natin ay 2. So we have here the same problem. The cube root of 24 over the cube root of 3. So for this problem, I will be applying this law wherein if we have 2 radicals, one is in your numerator at this is a denominator, we can create a single radical. So this one can be translated as the cube root of 24 over 3. And then as you can see, you have your fraction, which is 24 over 3, that can be simplified as 8. Again, 24 divided by 3 is 8. So we can have the cube root of 3 over, the cube root of 8 which is parehas na sila. And when you simplify the cube root of 8, it will give you 2. As you can see, same answer lang tayo, though meron tayong magkaibang solution. So, you're free to use this kind, either gustong gamitin yung first solution na ginawa ko o yung second solution. Nasa inyo naman yan kasi in solving mathematical problems, when it comes to examination, lalo na kung time-bound yung inyong examination, iisip ka ng paraan para mas mapadali yung iyong solution. Now, we are done with item number 1 and number 2, wherein we simply applied some basic laws of radicals, like rationalization and some laws about factoring. Now, let's move on with item number 3, wherein we're given this kind of problem: divide 8 by 3 plus the square root of 3. Actually, this kind of example, or this example, is from the grade 9 module, wherein I need to explain it further para mas matutunan ng mga grade 9 learners. So we have here 8 divided by 3 plus the square root of 3. We can translate this one as radical or as a fraction like this one. 8 over 3 plus the square root of 3. Now, kung mapansin niyo, this one is under rationalization by conjugate. So to simplify this one, we need to multiply that radical using the conjugate, which is the conjugate of 3 plus the square root of 3 ay 3 minus the square root of 3. Again, let me remind you, or mag-review muna tayo. To get the conjugate of an expression, of a binomial, ang gagawin mo lang naman is to simply copy your first term, second term, and then if this is positive or addition, gawin mo siyang subtraction. Pero kung siya ay subtraction, gawin mo siyang addition. Ganyan lang kasimple yung conjugate. And then, so multiply it by 3 minus the square root of 3 over 3 minus the square root of 3. And by multiplying, ito muna ha. Copy the product, so you have 8 times 3 minus the square root of 3. Huwag niyo munang i-direct na i-multiply yung expression. Kasi mas okay na naka-factored form siya para makita niyo kung pwede pa siyang i-simplify yung numerator mo at yung denominator. Now, for the denominator part, we have 3 plus the square root of 3 times 3 minus the square root of 3. Kung hindi kayo masyadong sanay sa paggamit ng conjugate or multiplying using conjugate, meron tayong video about that topic. Makita niyo sa ibabaw na to. Lalabas dyan. Para magkaroon kayo ng idea on how to do it. So, for the denominator, instead of using FOIL method, gagamit tayo ng sum and difference of two binomials. So, dito, instead na mag-FOIL method tayo, ang gawin mo lang dito, to multiply this, is to copy your first term. Kasi parehas naman sila. So, copy your first term, 3 square, and square it. And then, second thing na kailangan mong gawin is to write a minus sign. Again, copy your first term, which is 3, and then square that number, or that term, then minus, get your second term, which is square root of 3, and then square that number, or term. And simplifying this will give you 8 times 3 minus the square root of 3 over 3 squared, which is 9, and then minus, ang square root of 3 squared natin is just cancellation of the radical sign and the square. So you have 9 minus 3. And as you can see, you can simplify this one. You have 8 times 3 minus the square root of 3 over 6. Kasi niya may over 6 tayo. Ito yung purpose bakit di ko muna multiply or sinisimplify directly yung numerator natin. As you can see, meron tayo ditong 8 over 6, wherein meron silang greatest common factor na 2. So we can cancel out this one, magiging 2. Okay? Alright? And then for 8, magiging, ito yung magiging 3 pala, 3. Ito yung magiging 4. So, dyan pwede nyo siya simplify. And the final answer for item number 2, or number 3, is 4 times 3, 12. And then 4 times negative square root of 3 minus 4 square root of 3 over 3. Ito na nga yung final answer or simplified form ng item number 3. So I hope na sa tatlong examples natin on how to divide radicals, you already know the process on how to do it. So by the way, meron na rin tayong video on how to multiply radicals. Sana mapanood nyo siya sa ating description box. And if you have anything or gusto nyong gawa natin ng video, you can comment down below para mabasa natin ito. And lastly, if you're new to my channel, don't forget to like and subscribe at i-hit mo na yung bell button for you to be updated sa ating latest upload. Again, I am Teacher Gon. Maraming salamat. Bye-bye!